Have you walked through a beautiful woodland this morning? It's mixed conifer, plantation and deciduous. The bird life's immense. I've seen goldfinch, there's nuthatch. I got a glimpse of a nuthatch but didn't get close to it. Great tit, blue tit, tree creeper. I've seen a sparrowhawk, could hear an owl. Even though it's in the morning, I could hear an owl. Beautiful place. There's no another soul here. Got it myself. It's in the Abernethy estate. Look at this. See it? It's a fungus. It's solid. Is that just starting, see it? See it just beginning there? One of these days I'm going to come across a capercaillie. That's one of the only British birds I've never came across. Heard one, can't find it. They're buggers, because they don't like being seen, they don't like you finding them. But they're leching just now. The lech, that's the mating season, and they're very aggressive. So the likes of, like just now, see if there was one there and it saw me, it would run towards me and flare up its tail and put its wings up, and it would start doing that, you know, like a peacock, and clucking. They'll come right up to your feet and they'll do that right at you. They want you to get away from them. I'm quite happy to be confronted by one. There's footage on YouTube of one attacking a cyclist. It literally knocks him off his bike. They're big birds, they're like turkeys. And they're absolutely nuts. That's why I want to come across one. Because I'd actually sit down and let it peck me. Just for the crack, you know. Just for the banter. Because you're not meant to be in their area, but... So what happens is, now you've got the likes of the RSPB, they manage a lot of these woodlands, and what they're now saying is things like, you're not allowed to walk through the woodland, you must stick to a path, you can't put your foot on the grass or the heather. This is the statements that are coming out, which I disagree with. You know, me walking through there is not the problem. With the capercaillie and stuff like that, the problem is a lot of the time dogs off the lead cause problems. Now I get that maybe in places where they're nesting they should put them on the leads like lambing season, but don't be telling people not to go here and not to go there. That's just ridiculous, do you know what I mean? But they're not the charity that they claim to be. They're a bit of a superpower now, because now they've got that much money that they are enjoying the power trip. And I think a charity should always be a charity, it shouldn't be a political body. Then yet they've got massive political pull, absolutely massive political pull. You can hear a sparrowhawk away in the distance. There's also a nesting pair of goshawks not far from here. I'm not going to obviously go and put it in camera. I know exactly where it is. I found it. You're not meant to be able to find it, but I found it. Goshawks are quite unusual in Scotland, but it's a beautiful, beautiful bird. Absolute killer hunter. Real killer of a bird. So there you go, guys. This is just me out in a wee wander, catching a wee break, catching a bit of bird life. Place is alive, absolutely alive with finches, and at certain times of the year there's crossbill in this area. I've seen a spotted flycatcher. It's an unusual migrant to Britain. It's not a resident. I saw a wryneck, which I got a 1 second glimpse at a wryneck, and anybody knows what a wryneck is. It's a little bird, it's that size that they associate to witchcraft in medieval times, and you know, the pagans and stuff. They kind of had them down as little magical birds because they can turn their neck all the way. So when they sit down and you look at them, they'll flip their head back to front and look at you behind, but their whole head will actually look as if their body's back to front. People think an owl can do that all the way around. It can't, or its head would fall off. So the wryneck is a really interesting bird, and they're extremely rare. You know, you don't get a lot of them in the UK. Very rare. They're passenger birds, passerines. They're wee passenger migrants, you know, they drop off, but for some reason in Scotland they get recorded in this area time and time again, and they don't get recorded anywhere else in Scotland. In England they're quite localised as well to certain areas. It's weird, it's just strange how they come here. It's almost like they've got a magnetism. If they're born here they know exactly where to come back to. That's what I think. But we don't know everything, do you know what I mean? That's what keeps it interesting. So I saw one sitting between some pallets in a yard, and I'd mentioned it to a local twitcher, and his eyes nearly popped out, he said, when I mentioned wryneck. He asked me to describe it. It was definitely a wryneck. You can't mistake them for any other bird. They're so camouflaged. They're like another kind of ground nesting bird that's called a nightjar. They're incredibly camouflaged. They've got big massive gapes because they catch moths at night time on the wing. And nightjars, they purr, brrr, they purr through the night. Sounds like a 2-stroke motorbike in the distance. They literally purr all night long. They purr. And there's a place in England where I trained years ago, Woodbury Common, and it would loads of them. And if you looked against the kind of half light, you would see them flutter out from a tree like a bat, grab a moth and straight back onto their perch. Now, a normal bird sits in a branch, right, like this, okay? A nightjar sits in a branch that way. I'll give you a better demonstration here. So the nightjar, a bird sits that way, right? The nightjar sits this way. The nightjar sits like that. It actually sits along the length of the branch. Got my shorts on in case you're wondering. It sits along the length of the branch, which is it's a peculiar habit to nightjars. They're odd birds, which makes them to me even more intriguing and fascinating. You get variables. I caught one in a rack in a warehouse. The local boys were saying vampire bird because it's got a massive mouth, and when you grab it or corner it, the mouth opens so wide it's the same size as the head, and all you can see is mouth. It's got a massive gape. It's like this for grabbing, and I caught it and they all ran away. They were scared. It's only a small bird. it was trapped and I grabbed it. You know, they're out there in the, and I was amazed. Obviously catching one was to me an absolute novelty, and yeah, they thought I was nuts doing it. And here's a strange little clearing. Look at this in the middle of nowhere. See it? Look at this strange little clearing here. And it's got like some type of red sand, or I don't know, it's like very strange. I've got absolutely no idea why this is here. Strange. See foxes and badgers and stuff have been digging into it. But aye, these places are, although they don't look like there's much life in them, in these types of plantations, if you come into them in the morning, the bird life's immense. Through the day it dies down because they go back to roost, or they're out, they're away feeding, and they come back to these places for sanctuary. You know, they roost in these places. And obviously when you come into a place like this, it's got a low down because there's no sunlight. These trees have, like, they're nutrient rich at the top, so all the growth's up there, and down here it's all shallow and bare. But see what that does? That creates flight lines and flightways for sparrowhawks, for predators, raptor species. You know, merlins, hobbies, spars, goshawks. You know, stuff like that. Just in general, kind of small raptors, they love it because there's no low down foliage, so they can chase through it. They can fly through this and just glide on the wing, and they can. It's very unlikely that little birds get away from them in these environments because they're absolute stone cold killers, which is amazing. Now I've got a big nest above me. I'll show you this one because you don't know where I am and nobody does. And it takes some finding because I'm well in here. See it? That's most likely a common buzzards. Although it's fairly low down, I would probably say it's a buzzards. And it's not active because there's nothing directly beneath it just now. You would, at this time of year, you would see a lot of fresh stuff, fresh bedding and twigs getting dropped with them setting it up for the season, but they don't always go back to the same sites, buzzards, but a lot of the time they do. And if you see crossbills, they come in like different plumage, pinks, stuff like that. Their beak crosses over, hence the name. They've got a twisted beak. You know, the top beak comes over the bottom beak, like that. Quite amazing. And they use it for bashing open seeds, pine cone seeds. That's what they eat. So their beaks actually evolved to be side on and smash open seeds. Same as like a hawfinch or a greenfinch. They've got big, massive, thick beaks for the size of their heads. Their beaks are huge because they get the crushing power for the types of seeds they eat. See these scratchings here? See this? And this? That's probably Brock, a badger, just on its trotters, and it sniffs something, earthworms usually, or a little nest of voles or something, young wee voles. They'll just pull the moss back and eat them all on the trot. Completely carnivorous. They will devour anything. They are omnivores, but they're completely carnivorous in the fact that they'll eat absolutely anything. You know, that's definitely a badger been around here. See it? See it? He's been digging around, probably catching little nests of voles, field mice, dormice. Not so much dormice in Scotland, you don't really get them up here. Too cold. But that's what it's been doing, scratching. And they just devour everything. Eggs as well. They love eggs, badgers love eggs. But it's birds I'm looking for today. And see up there? See up there on that tree? Just there. Just there, see that? That's a sparrowhawk's nest. Tell 100 mile away, that's a sparrowhawk's nest. I'm going to mark that. I'm going to pin that and come back, because yeah, there's twigs, there's fresh twigs broken down here. Look, wee fresh broken twigs. There's lots of them. All wee fresh bits right at the bottom of it. That's because it's new. That nest's in use. That nest's in use because there's loads and loads in the circumference of the spindle of the tree. There's loads of broken stuff, so that one's definitely in use. That will have chicks in it. April time, March, April time, there'll be chicks in that nest. March, should be. It's definitely a sparrowhawk. It's about 25, 30 feet up. I've seen kestrels 5, 6 feet up just here. You can literally look in. Don't know why they go so low, but they sometimes just feel the need to. It's crazy. Well, there you go. There's a wee bit of information for you. Not seen any roe deer. They'll be there, but they're usually out at pasture and then they come back in at night time to the kind of edges of the woodlands and stuff. You can't beat a walk in a woodland, guys, can you? It's absolutely fantastic. And if you stand still long enough and see this, you might say about an orange jacket, right? Wildlife don't see colour. They see shape, shadow, silhouette, that's what they see. And a lot of animals like deer and stuff, they see in shades of grey. You know, the American stalkers go out in the mountains, they've got orange crosses in their back so other shooters don't shoot them. It's coming to the UK as well. But all you need to do for wildlife, just stand still. Just stand still and make your movements. Like if you're looking round, do it like that. You know, do it a lot slower instead of going every 2 minutes or pointing. Just point with your eyes and just move slowly. Wildlife will come to you, especially birds. Birds are naturally inquisitive. And if you do that and kick the ground right and clear a bit of ground and walk away, see in 5 minutes a bird's seen you do it's on it, because you've done the hard work for it. There you go, eh? And you need to know how to walk about in a woodland. I'm using the sun, obviously. There I'm back at my tree. I've done a big loop, came off the path up there, walked right through the rough stuff and back again, but I know where I'm keeping the sun. It's just second nature. I keep the sun, I'm keeping it over this shoulder, and when I'm walking down like on the right, I'm keeping it, and I know where it is over this shoulder. As soon as I turn, I take a kind of rough bearing with the sun, and I know that if I start walking and it's behind me and I've walked for 10-15 minutes, you know, in a woodland I could say, right, you know, I've covered 500 paces, which is like 250 metres, say, something like that. So, you know, a quarter of a kilometre, for instance, and that's quite a lot in a woodland, and I just kind of work it out, and I've got wee ways of doing things for navigating, finding your way back. If it comes overcast, it's not so effective, but daylight, you know, it'll always be lighter on one side than it will on the other. But I like to use the sun just as a rough way of knowing where I am. So I know I've walked in a loop, I'm straight back to my tree. Boom, that wasn't by chance. And it is, you know, there's no paths out there. Look around, there is no paths out there, and it all looks the same, and that goes for miles and miles and miles, and that way it goes all the way for miles again, all the way to, you know, Glenmore Forest that they join up. So it is easy to get lost. Oh, and it is easy to get a big tree out there. There's a cracker, look at them. Slidey, really slidey. Look at that one for a trip hazard. That's a peach. Imagine walking into that in the dark. You see what I mean? With the sunlight, you can just see the difference in the contrast with the brightness. It's something to bear in mind. It takes a lot of practice. You need to get used to it, and you need to be aware of it. Anyway, that's just something I do. Listening to bird life. It's fantastic. Okay, doke, enjoy your day. I've blabbed on long enough. Stay steady striving.